Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. I want to get right to this episode. Before we do, I want to thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Want to let you know the best way to reach out to me is probably an email at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com or through my Instagram account at jscottoutdoors. Just send me a direct message. I want to thank GoHunt.com. They are the title sponsor and have been since the inception of my podcast in 2015. You guys know Cody Nelson, my friend, the glassing guru, the optics authority there, the optics manager at GoHunt.com. If you guys have any optics needs, any tripod, any glassing questions, you can reach out to Cody directly at 602-399-3699. You can text or call him. That is his cell phone. You can also reach him at 702-847-8747. You can email optics@gohunt.com. Make sure to always use, whether ordering online or if you're calling and call Cody direct, use the J Scott promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount. Also, you get a 10% discount at the Go Hunt Insider, which has incredible mapping now with the Go Hunt maps. It also has amazing draw odds and strategy articles, which is super important this spring going into application season. Go check it out, gohunt.com/JScott. And if you use the J Scott promo code, you're going to get a $50 Go Hunt gear shop gift card when you sign up just by using the J Scott promo code. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. I've been using KUIU gear since 2010 when the company started. They're based out of California. My late friend Jason Harrison was the founder of that company, and since Jason's passing, the company has just continued to push the bar of excellence and innovation. Go to KUIU, that's KUIU.com. You can order. It's a direct-to-consumer website. They also have a retail store in Dallas, Texas, as well as the headquarters in Dixon, California. Go to KUIU, KUIU.com to order. I also want to thank phonescope.com. Cheston and his guys over there at Phonescope make the best digiscoping adapters for your binos or for your spotting scope. Use the JScott24 promo code and get a 10% discount on all orders. Guys, let's get right to this episode. Again, I appreciate you tuning in, and God bless. Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. I've got my friend Daniel Franco of Burnt Timber Outfitters on the line. Daniel, how are you?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Good. How do things look up there in the Mogollon Rim country, the 3C 4A Unit 123? How's it looking?
We're a little dry.
Okay.
We still kind of missing that monsoon rain that we didn't get last year, so still a little dry. We've had a couple of snows, we've had a couple of rains, which have definitely helped, but we haven't had enough snow or hard enough rains to start running any water. So unfortunately, quite a few of our tanks are still dry, and it's going to take a substantial amount of moisture to get those full.
Okay, so as we enter into this time period of looking at the Arizona elk and antelope applications, you're saying it's dry going in, so anyone that is applying ought to take that into consideration, definitely have point guard. I am hearing that we are supposed to be in an El Nino pattern, and there is a storm predicted for next week that's supposed to be pretty big. Don't laugh.
I know.
Are you seeing the storm on the forecast, and what are they calling for up in your country?
Yes. So right now we have a forecasted storm for Wednesday, spilling over into Thursday, and then another one kind of late Friday into Saturday. So we have some coming this week. I keep hearing that we're in this El Nino weather pattern, but I don't know. I haven't seen it. I think the last time I looked at the annual precipitation for our area up here, we're sitting at just below average for the winter so far. Average to maybe just below. But and we've had some rains, we've had some snows that I think will equate to green grass. As it gets closer to spring, I think we're going to get the grass green up that we like to see, especially when animals are starting to grow their new antlers for next season. So I will see that, and that's I'm optimistic for that. But what I would really like to see is just a little more moisture where we can get some tanks filled up. So if I had to guess right now, I would say, and it's not the entire unit. It's kind of pocketed from what we saw last year and even into now. But I would say we're probably sitting at somewhere around 50% of our tanks are dry and 50% have water. Obviously, the further south and the higher in elevation you get, those tanks still have water and have had throughout last year and into now. The tanks that are in the lower country, they're dry. So I'd like to see a little more moisture to fill those up, kind of get the animals spread out and kind of where they want to be. I think even if we don't get a lot of heavy moisture until our monsoon season there in July and into August, that'll still help. It'll fill the tanks. It'll green up the grass and get the animals spread out. So if we don't get it this winter and spring, I don't think that's necessarily a deal breaker yet, but definitely keeping a close eye on it to see what happens here in the next couple of months and then into our monsoon season.
Okay. With that being said, coming off of last year, moisture conditions, antler conditions, growth last year, and holdover bulls, all of that stuff, how does that play into if you were looking at 3C, 4B, 1, all of that, where do we stand from last year's conditions?
From last year. So I'm not gonna pull any punches. Last year sucked. It was in the 35 years that I've hunted these woods and these mountains. Last year was probably one of the worst years that I've seen for rut activity and bugling and elk doing what elk do that time of year. It made it frustrating. It was difficult. We still managed to kill some solid bulls, which was a plus, but it was tough. It was definitely a tough year. So I think last year antler growth was probably off a little bit. Definitely dry because we started seeing broken bulls relatively quick going into the archery season, and then by the time we got midway through the archery season, broken bulls were just becoming more and more common, and then rolling into the early rifle season. To be honest, it was tough to put together a completely intact bull. Lot of broken bulls, a lot of missing beams, multiple points broken. So definitely signs of just a dry year and not getting the moisture that they needed. So that made it tough. So with that said, I think there were a lot of bulls last year that kind of got the pass because they were broken and they just
didn't have it. So a lot of bulls, missing entire beams and missing horns that got the pass last year. So kind of excited to see what we get next year. I think last year was specifically for the 3C archery elk hunt last year. I think it was the lowest success rate that I've ever seen, if not in the last 20 years. I know a lot of people that had tags, a lot of people that just didn't fill their tags, didn't see anything that excited them that they wanted to shoot.
A lot of bulls that were chased that just didn't get killed. So I think recruitment, I think we're in pretty good shape because there's going to be some holdover bulls from last year. A lot of broken bulls that made it through from last year. So I think that's a positive going into this year. So barring some more winter moisture, some spring moisture that gets a good green up when the bulls need it the most, I think that's a positive. And then just getting some water on the ground, getting some water in tanks, that'll be big going into this 2024 season.
Okay. Unit 3C is kind of your bread and butter unit there, born and raised. It's where you live right there.
Mm-hmm.
With an archery tag, let's say that, we get decent moisture and things, are not in the below average situation, and average to, let's say, average or better. Realistically, what do you expect archers to be kind of seeing on a daily basis? And then maybe what would be, expectations for what they're seeing, and like expectations for what they feel like they should shoot if they can, get around good. Obviously there's a lot of variables there, but what are we looking at?
There's a lot of variables. And I think we always kind of go into every year with kind of a 350 plus mentality. And it seems like whether it's a dry year, whether it's a wet year, we always kind of tell our hunters and tell people that are applying for, like 3C, go in with the 350 plus mentality. And then depending on our scouting, depending on antler growth and what we're seeing, that may bump up to a 360 plus mentality. We may hold it at a 350, but it seems like regardless of the year, wet, dry, we can always at least go in with that 350 plus mentality. And if it's a 350 plus type bull, depending on what we're seeing, that's a bull we might be chasing, might not be chasing. I think going into this year, based on what we've got, depending on kind of how the rest of the winter and the spring play out and monsoons, that could be a 360 plus mentality. I don't think we had great horn growth last year based on just the bulls that we were seeing and the amount of breakage that we were seeing. And last year was kind of that 360 plus type of mentality going in, just last year alone. So, a lot of it depends on moisture. A lot of it depends on age class and recruitment that we get from the previous years. But I'm anticipating this year, going into this year, I think it could be that 360 plus, and it depends on what we see and what we're turning up as to whether that stays the same or potentially goes up a little bit or down a little bit. So.
How do you see the early rifle? Is it early rifle or muzzleloader this year? And what
early rifle?
What number do you see on that as far as expectation? Is that still kind of a 360 plus?
Yeah, 360 plus. Last year we killed a couple bulls over that on the early rifle, even fighting the broken horns and kind of the slow to mediocre rut at best. We were still able to kill a couple of bulls over that 360 mark on the early rifle hunt. So, I think it's, the rifle definitely kind of allows you to stretch out a little further and kind of bumps that number up. So, I would kind of hold with that 360 plus, and depending on what we're seeing that year and during the archery hunt and through scouting, then that could potentially bump up. So.
Then you've got the late archery elk and then the late rifle. Give your expectations on that as well.
So they did away with the late archery in 3C because of 3C being an alternative management unit for deer. That bumped the cow hunt after the deer hunt. So they've actually done away with that 3C late archery. The late bull hunt. There again, I'm not gonna pull any punches. Last year was probably the worst year I've ever seen for the late elk hunt, and I think a large part of that is due to the fact that we have basically completely lost our elk herd in Unit 3A. They went to the over-the-counter hunts in 3A. Quite a few of the ranchers have locked up their property and not allowing hunting unless you're paying them or have the exclusive rights. And so that late hunt became extremely tough. And last year, it was definitely one of the hardest and worst years I've ever seen in 3C for the late hunt. Um, to be honest, we're not telling anybody to put in for it this year because of how bad it was last year. And until it can kind of rebound or prove itself, then we'll kind of stick with that and push people to other units. So
Okay. Let's talk about 23 or 1 or 4B, 4A, any of those other units that you want to mention there around kind of your hub.
So 23 kind of similar. It was dry last year. Started out with the archery hunt to be, looking pretty strong, and boy, it didn't take long as typically happens in 23. As soon as they started to rut a little bit, they started breaking up and getting shredded, and kind of made for a tough end of the archery hunt and into the early rifle. Same thing there. The north end of the unit is pretty dry. Just didn't get any of that monsoon rain that we typically get, in July and August. That kind of hurt, as well as coming wrapping around the Mogollon Rim into to 4B and 4A. Same thing. Just kind of missed those monsoons. Just didn't seem like the cows were healthy going into September. Everything that we saw kind of bumped the rut back 2 to 3 weeks, and seemed like the most rutting action that we heard and saw was into like the second week of October. So definitely made for tough hunting. Unit 1 was a little bit of the exception, and kind of always is. It's the one unit in the state that is kind of able to escape that drought and dryness. They're higher elevation. They tend to get a little more moisture, tend to have a little more live water, tend to green up the fastest. So Unit 1 was kind of the exception there. The only downside to Unit 1 is we're still missing that older age class of bull. So the quality is still down a little bit. Would like to see the age class come back and the quality come back up.
But as far as bugling and such, it's always kind of pretty good.
Yeah, it's always pretty good. Unit 1, it was even off a little bit last year. Both 3B and Unit 1 just were pretty slow. But Unit 1 definitely picked up a little bit quicker, and didn't seem to lag near as far behind as some of the rest of the units did, as far as rut's concerned.
Okay. Let's shift gears, and I know you were a part of a big antelope last year. I believe the raffle or the governor's tag hunter shot a big antelope, and talk a little bit about the antelope in your area.
So the antelope, it's kind of been holding its own. I was actually glad to see that they did decrease tags all around our area here, as far as the antelope numbers were concerned, especially in Unit 3A with a lot of the private land getting locked up. They decreased the number of tags in 3A. The quality has been slipping, so I was happy to see that. Antelope have kind of been struggling. We did see a little bit of an increase in quality last year, primarily in Unit 4B. I was able to be a part of it was actually a super draw tag, or a special draw tag that they did for antelope that included about 12 different units, and it actually included one of the units that we were able to hunt, and it's a buck that we had been watching kind of grow up over the last 4 years. Buck that we've known about, seen every year, and he just continued to. He started out as a young buck with just a great look and a great frame. And over the last 4 years, was able to add some mass and add a little more length. And this year, when we saw him this year, we knew he was special, and was able to connect with Arizona Custom Hunts with Hunter Weems and his crew, and came out and had a great time, and kind of chased him around for a day or two, but finally it all came together, and was able to get him killed. So.
Where do you see antelope up there in those units? You say kind of holding their own, just kind of level. You don't see them trending up or down, or just kind of plodding along.
So 4B definitely is holding its own. To be honest, a lot of the other units have kind of slipped on numbers and quality, and fortunately the Game and Fish has kind of followed suit with their tag numbers. So we've seen a decrease in tag numbers in 3A. We've seen a decrease in 4A. So they're kind of ahead of the curve on that, which is good, because antelope are, they can be a little bit fickle when it comes to numbers and population and everything. So they've done a good job of kind of following suit with that. So I'm happy to see that. 3A, because of the a lot of the private land getting locked up and being a little more limited on where you can hunt, they've kind of followed suit on that and lowered tag numbers as well. So I think overall this year, I didn't look at the exact numbers, but I think they dropped close to 100 tags in Arizona this year on the rifle antelope hunts, to kind of follow with what their surveys and their harvest data and all their information is giving them. So yeah, antelope's kind of one of those that it just depends on the year. Some years it seems like you don't see that many, and the quality's not there. And then the next year, boy, it seems like, you wonder where they come from and what tree they came out from behind, because now all of a sudden you've got some antelope in a unit that typically have been struggling. So hopefully we can get some recruitment, fawn recruitment, and keep the predators down, and start to see the antelope herds climb again around here. So that's what we're hoping for.
Awesome, man. Well, it's always great having you on the podcast. I want to give you a chance to let the listeners know how to reach out to you or follow along what you guys are doing there at Burnt Timber Outfitters.
Easiest way typically is just on our website, burnttimberoutfitters.com. We've got our cell phone numbers, emails. You can reach out to us on email, cell phone, shoot us a text, phone call. You can also follow along on Instagram at Burnt Timber Outfitters. We try to stay up to date on that as best we can. We're a little bit behind. I need to get some stuff on there. But just looking forward to the 2024 season. I'm optimistic that it can't be any worse than last year's rut. So we're hoping for just a little bit of a turnaround and a little better season coming up.
I thought you were going to say you were looking forward to the spring 3C turkey season.
I quit looking forward to that 10 years ago.
Man, we used to have some good times up there, and it was so good. Now it's like you guys rejoice when you just see a turkey.
Oh, hey, I'm telling you, it's gotten. We've actually seen a few turkeys just like in the last 2 years, and just being out and about and glassing and finally seeing some turkeys, and it's good to see. But it's a long ways from where it used to be.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
You bet. Thank you, man.
God bless.
All right, bye.